What I want to do now is I want to bring a very special guest, Shara. Many of you know Shara. She's been a part of our church for a long time. What I love about Shara, guys, I've watched this woman grow in the Lord so much. She's been through hell and back, but also I've watched this woman walk in victory. Like I've seen her subjugate her desires to Jesus. I've seen her choose Jesus' voice. I've seen her do the homework, like do the work with God. Was it painful? Absolutely. Has she been leveraging it? Yes. And so I think she deserves a round of applause even again. But hey, Shara.
Hey, how are you?
I'm super good. Thanks for joining me up here.
You're welcome.
Hey, what do you think are one or two temptations, whether they're internal or external, that divorcees are going to experience?
This is a great question. And I know that rushing into things is something like right after a divorce or right after a separation is really hard, not to rush out and try and find someone or something that is going to make you feel good.
Yeah.
We should be rushing to God. We should be rushing towards Jesus. We should be rushing to get on our knees and pray.
What are some of the things, okay, so like maybe there's an internal voice that's contributing to that. Mm-hmm. What is the enemy trying to say? What is he trying to tell you when he's trying to get you to rush out?
Well, a lot of times he is using the Bible and he's twisting it to tell us to go out and, find that person or find that thing that's going to make us feel good. So I think he's just going to come in like a lion. And he's going to come in and destroy you and destroy anything that makes you feel like you are God's child and that you are loved and accepted.
That's really good. I think sometimes with lots of different kinds of trials, we want to get onto it. We want to get past something. And sometimes God does things immediately, but sometimes there's a waiting of like, okay, I've got to make sure that I'm hearing God rightly. And if we race out and jump into something new, we're missing the train he was going to send that was like way better for our life, way better for our family. So that totally makes sense. What about discouragement? I think that's probably a thing.
Yeah.
What are some of the discouraging ideas, voices, messages that are coming to you or you're thinking about or are being put on you?
Yeah. Well, I worked when I was going through my separation and my divorce. It was hard to get out of bed. It was hard to face the day. It was hard not to feel like I wasn't worthy of God's love or of anyone's love at that point. And one of the things that I really was able to cling to was Lamentations 3. Lamentations 3 starts out, "I'll never forget the trouble, the utter lostness, the taste of ashes, the poison that I've swallowed. I remember it all. Oh, how well I remember it. The feeling of hitting the bottom. But there's one thing that I remember and keep remembering and keep a grip on hope. God's loyal love couldn't have run out. His merciful love couldn't have dried up. They're created new every morning. How great is your faithfulness? I'm sticking with God, and I say it over and over. He's all I have left." And that was one of the biggest things that was pushing me through every single day to get out of bed was God has given me mercies every single day.
Yeah. Isn't that awesome? What about discouragement, Shara? So I would imagine every time you wake up, you talked about it a little bit, there's just this constant, well, that's over, you failed, and you were owed better than that. Is there an anger enemy like a resentment enemy that you need to fight?
Absolutely.
Or like, what does that look like?
I was angry for a long time, angry at the situation and angry at God in a way. Just know that God is bigger than your anger, so you can be angry with him and he's going to take it and he's going to say, I love you regardless. And he's going to turn that. I know that I had to submit that to God every single day. And I had to pray for my ex-husband and right now, I would say that he and I have a really, really great relationship, especially for our kids, because I had to let that discouragement go and let that pain and anger go.
Yeah. I feel like I remember that time very vividly, and I feel like, I don't know that I personally or we as a church loved you in ways that you needed to be loved. I don't know that it was intuitive to me. I remember loving you, but I don't know that that was clear or that came out in as helpful of a way as it might have. What could the church do for a person in that position that would be read more as actively loving them?
Sure. So at the very beginning, it was very difficult to face people. And it was very hard to step out on my own. So I know that had someone reached out to me, it would have been a different story. I may not have kind of hidden away for so long. I did have friends, and I do have friends that did reach out to me that, they would invite me to say, go to a small group. But I really needed someone maybe to come to my home. Yeah. To just say, hey, I'm going to sit with you in this really hard space. We're going to cry together, and it's going to be okay. Yeah. I needed somebody to be in that space with me, not necessarily in a bigger space. So in the small, quiet places.
Is there ever a sense, Shara, like that there needs to be, and you tell me, I feel like sometimes that can look from the outside like, wow, man, like they're just so sad. They just, if I come around, I'm gonna be bugging them. Is there an intrusiveness level that those of us on the outside need to kind of like, I'm just gonna do it anyway, just in case?
Absolutely. I would definitely say step into that space, even if it's uncomfortable, because it's uncomfortable no matter what.
What about dudes in particular? Because I know that we don't know what to say to the heart necessarily. What can we do?
As a brother, I think that men can reach out to other men. Men can reach out to women and say, hey, do you have a female in your life that's able to help you with this situation? If not, I'm going to help you find someone.
Ooh, come on, somebody. That's really good. I think even maybe, guys just asking, what would my wife need right now? Like just practically, what would she need?
Absolutely.
Okay, get a list and let's talk about those.
Yeah. I know that I've had people step up and help me fix my ceiling in my house. I've had people that have just kind of been there to, take me out to coffee or, help me with physical things that I just haven't been able to do. But it did take a long time for me to get to that point because I didn't step out for a really long time.
I'm glad you stuck with it, lady.
Thanks.
What are some examples of something that you wish, okay, so I would imagine once you're divorced, you see yourself as different than people that aren't divorced. Yeah. What do you wish people that aren't divorced knew that divorcees now know?
So this is a good question too. One of the things that really, and this is kind of a controversial topic, I felt like my divorce was a death. And a lot of people don't understand that when you go through a death, you have that stage of grief. And those stages of grief can be every single day. They can be over the span of a week. And then you can be reminded of that person because I shared children with them. And that's going to start that grief process over again because you see them standing and walking and breathing. And it's a ripping of souls. So it's very painful. And with the opportunity you have to minister to a person who's going through a pain like death, it's important to have a lot of empathy and a lot of compassion.
Thanks. What about, one more question.
Okay.
What were some things, so I feel sure like it was super bloody, but you leveraged that season. So like you did things that were wise. Spiritually speaking, what was helpful?
I got into a group of 4 ladies who I still love very dearly, one of them who is sitting in the back today. And we were all either going through a divorce or going through separations at the same time. And it was interesting because everyone had different perspectives. Everyone had different situations that they were dealing with. One of the women actually is still with her spouse. They were able to work things out. But each one of us were able to breathe life into one another and have community. Community is so important, especially in situations like this, because you need your people to speak godly truth into your lives.
Yeah. I feel like also, as I've talked to you, just your life in the Word also saved the day.
Yes.
Multiple times. Even having that lamentation scripture, obviously you had to get that at some point in God's presence for him to be able to encourage you.
Yes. Yeah, I definitely was just immersed in the Word during that time. Anytime that I could get into it and anytime that I felt discouraged, I was able to pick up the Bible and just read something through Psalms, something through Proverbs, was able to just kind of lift my spirits. Jeremiah 29:11, those are things that you have to remember. God is going to strengthen you no matter what.
Guys, Shara is going to have a small group for ladies who are divorcees coming up after this month. So I want to encourage you, if this is the kind of thing that you needed or need, that might be the group to sign up for, fierce.church/groups. Can we give a round of applause? Didn't she do well? Thank you, Shara.